All right, Tanzagakyo, Randy Mornitzika, son. I come from Big River First Nation. I'm here to tell you a story, a traditional story. This is called Mistassini Big Stone or Grandfather's Stone. So, this story takes place a long time ago, before a treaty, when this land that we call Saskatchewan still belonged to the indigenous people. Very nomadic people. Many plains nations shared this land. A lot of trade was happening, a lot of ceremony. Indigenous people knew the lands intimately, very well. Well, I guess it happened one day that there was an indigenous tribe that was traveling through this area, and this was the time when there was vast herds of buffalo in the tens of millions. There are estimates that there were between 60 to 80 million buffalo that used to roam the lands. Also, the animals that hunted the buffalo, were the plains grizzly bears and the prairie mountain lions and the prairie wolves. So three top predators would hunt the buffalo. Dire wolves, as they were called, very massive wolves, and very massive mountain lions. Anyway, so there's this indigenous nation traveling through here, and they had a dog with them carrying a travois. Travois. It's two sticks latched on top of a dog to make a harness. And these dogs would haul a lot of stuff for the indigenous people. Well, they used to haul babies, you know. So the mother didn't have to carry it. The dog would pull this travois. It must have been a very bumpy ride for these newborn babies, right? Because it's really bumpy with two sticks being dragged, through the prairies. It's pretty rocky. Well, they're walking through this area, and there's a baby attached to a travois with a dog. They come over a hill, and over the hill, vast buffalo herd. And this causes a lot of excitement in the people. So, the dogs get excited. Everyone's getting excited, right? So, there's a lot of movement, a lot of dust. And the dog with travois took off running after the buffalo, along with multiple other dogs, right? Along with the hunters, you know. In this mass confusion that happened, they lost the baby with the dog, right? And so a search party was assembled, and they scoured the prairie, and all day, all night, searching for this dog with the travois. Well, the next morning, the dog came back, but the travois with the newborn baby was missing. The harness broke off from the dog. So this really was not good. So they spend more time looking for this missing child. Well, they had to move on. They spent a long time looking for this baby. They couldn't find it, so they moved on. The mother and the father were absolutely devastated, heartbroken. They lost a child, right? And there's like plains grizzlies, there's mountain lions, there's dire wolves, right? So To be alone out here, you didn't last long, right? So it was very scary, but you know, they had to move on. So they left. They traveled on, right? And the Buffalo Nation heard the cries of a young human. And so, you know, the matriarchs of the Buffalo Nation followed the cries of this baby, and they came upon this newborn baby, right? And so they talked amongst themselves. Look, a human baby. And so there was debate. Oh, they hunt us, they kill us. We better leave it. And there's others that were arguing. Well, there's nobody here. This baby's not going to last long, right? Well, it was decided that they would raise the baby as their own. So that's what they did. They raised that young boy as a buffalo. Okay, and so time passed, and indigenous tribes would be traveling through these prairies, and they'd see these vast herds of buffalo, and they'd get little glimpses of, like, what was that? Was that a little baby boy? Was that a boy? Like, running with the buffalo? Like, our eyes playing tricks on us, right? Well, yeah. So the boy's growing up with the Buffalo Nation, right? And one day they're at the river. They're drinking water. And this young boy goes to drink, the water. And he sees his reflection, and he looks at it himself in his reflection. He looks at his brothers and sisters drinking beside him. And he notices they don't look like him. His reflection is different than the buffalo. And so he asks them, how come I look different? And so the mothers, the matriarchs, they told him, son, we have to have a talk. We found you many, many years ago. You were all alone. You would have died. And we had compassion, and we decided to raise you. Even though you hunt us, your people hunt us and kill us, we still took compassion. We raised you. But now you're older now. It's time for you to go back to your people. Oh, this devastated the young boy to know, what? I'm a human, Devastated him. So the decision was made for the boy to be sent back. So he was told to go east. And he, after many days of travel, will come upon his people. So he was told to follow, the direction of the sun, or west. East or west, I'm not sure. So he's following the sun path. At night he'd sleep. Very lonely boy. Very scared, never been alone. Well, he could see the smoke up in the distance. And as he's coming, he could see teepees. Lots of teepees. And he was spotted. And immediately, the warriors of the tribe immediately rode out and circled him. And they were asking him questions, but he couldn't understand them, right? He looked like them. He noticed, like, hey, these people, I look like them, right? But he could not understand them. They couldn't understand him. So they took him into the village. And it was decided that they would raise the boy, right? So they raised the boy. It was a stranger, but they raised him as their own. And the boy grew up. Eventually could speak the language, right? Spencer could speak the language. But he was, he found it very hard because, you know, his people were hunting the buffalo, right? And this didn't sit well with him. So he didn't want to eat the buffalo, right? Because they raised him, right? so so this young boy grew up to be a young man, and he he was pretty happy, had children, and he was married, right? He wasn't a hunter because he didn't want to be a hunter, right? But he did help out in the community in many ways. Very skilled young man. But inside he felt different inside, right? Well, one day he decided he told his wife, he told his wife, I'm not happy here. I'm going to go back and rejoin my Buffalo Nation, right? And this was very hard on the wife, right? And so the boy didn't tell anybody. The boy didn't tell anybody, but he made the decision. So quietly one night he slipped away, and he walked until he found the great herds. And the great herds were scared of him, so they would run away. And so he would yell out to them, right, in his human form, right? But he's trying to remember, hey, I know how to speak, as a buffalo, right? I know how to communicate with them. So he had to remember how to do that. So he did. And so they heard him, they recognized him, and so the matriarchs came out to meet him. They immediately recognized him, and they asked him, "What are you doing here?" And he said to them, "I'm really missing you. It's been years, right? And I like being a human, but I want to be a buffalo. I want to be a buffalo. How do I do that? Please." Well, the matriarchs told him, "All right, there's a thing you can do. What you got to do is you got to go on the ground, and you have to roll over 4 times. You roll over, and after 4 rolls, when you get up, you will be a buffalo like us." Exactly. But if you want to do more, it will demand a great sacrifice. You will have to roll in your buffalo form. You have to roll 4 more times, and when you after 4 times, you will become a very powerful legacy for the Buffalo Nation and for the human nation. You'll help us both. But it's up to you to make that decision. So what do you want to do? So this young boy rolled 4 times. When we got up, he was a young buffalo. But he realized, I got to do more for my Buffalo Nation, for my human nation. So he rolled 4 more times, and he fell asleep. And as he fell asleep, he turned to stone. He became the Buffalo Stone. And that stone is located 60 feet below Lake Diefenbaker, near Elbow, Saskatchewan. That big stone was the shape of a buffalo. And that's where indigenous nations from hundreds of thousands of square kilometers would come to that buffalo stone. And they would come and do various ceremonies there for hundreds, thousands of years, right? There's stories, old stories that would surround that rock of teepees 10 miles deep in every direction. 10 miles deep. How many people is that? This is before treaty, before the diseases got here, before the major diseases got here, 14 of them. So that stone got blown up in 1968. We called it Mistassini, or Buffalo Stone. But that is the story of how the boy turned to stone to help the Cree people in the various indigenous tribes with the Buffalo Nation. So we honor the buffalo as indigenous people. The buffalo is our brother, it's our sister, it's our relative, it's our grandfather, it's our grandmother. So with that, folks, I hope you enjoyed listening to that very, very short story. It is a very beautiful story in its entirety, but just for the sake of attention spans, that's a very, very short version of Buffalo Stone. And again, thank you for listening. My name is Randy Morin. I come from Big River First Nation. I live in Saskatoon, and it's an honor to tell stories. So with that, kinanas kum tina. Wow. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.